Adorama TV presents How They Do That, where we explore the world of professional photographers and share their techniques with you. Here's your host, Mark Wallace.
Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of How They Do That. I'm Mark Wallace. Well, we actually were fortunate enough to meet with Blair Bunting. He is a successful commercial photographer who shoots celebrities and sports figures as well as advertising campaigns. His work has been shown in Billboard magazine, and he's shot for Disney and Discovery Channel and a bunch of other places and clients. And so without further ado, let's join our conversation that we had right here with myself and Blair Bunting. Well, here we are with Blair Bunting. Blair, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We actually had some really cool stuff on Facebook and Twitter. People actually want to ask you questions directly. So
that's unfortunate.
I think it'd be fun to do this. So let's look right here. Here's a guy, I cannot pronounce his name, sorry. But he says, can you tell us 3 absolute must-have traits of a good photographer? What do you think?
3 absolute must-have traits.
Yes. Hair?
Well, first, yeah, definitely being sexy is a very important part of it. No, I think patience and creativity. Obviously, creativity would be a definitive must, but a lot of people think it as you know, your eye going towards the photo. I think creativity in the aspect of management of a set and knowing what can be done to account for certain lacks of, like, say you have a set like we're lighting in Miami. I'll be shooting tomorrow. And we have to have a bunch of packs around water and actually in water. Everyone will be in the water with all the watts. And
it's electrifying.
Yeah, it is. So, you know, going out and buying floats and rafts and everything, and what you can really do on the budget, how creative you can be with the budget, with the client especially.
So you mean creativity not just as much as lighting and styling. You're talking about how do you manage money and people and space.
Yeah.
And
unfortunately, at the end of the day, it does come down to money management. Some of the best photographers out there take photos that can be beaten by a person that's out of work, but they know how to manage the business aspect of it. Crap, that's 2, isn't it?
Yeah, that's 2. One more.
3.
3.
A patient wife.
Patient. Yeah.
God. And be willing to travel. Okay, the wife thing, we'll just put that as the ultimate one. And be willing to be on a plane and sit next to every person you can possibly think of, day in and day out. There's your 3.
I relate to it. Okay, let's see. What about this never-dying question? Here's from Jeff. 1 lens that you can't live without. Is there 1 lens you can't live without?
I have been asked that 1,000 times.
I know, me too. It's 24-70, but other than that?
Yeah. If you're shooting Nikon, it's a 24-70G. There's no other lens to have on a Nikon, and actually the sharpness, contrast, flare reduction of that lens makes its primes almost a moot point. Now, if you're shooting Canon, it's primes. So, 35-144 walk around, 85-1.2 version 1 Mark 1 for an all-time lens. Actually 135 f2 if you're using it at one body for the balance. Doesn't get any better than that for a camera, in my opinion.
So it's 1 group of lenses.
Yeah. That's
that's the tough thing, is there really isn't a lens or a camera or a light. It's, you know, you have to sort of use the tool that works.
That's about the truth. Yes. No, I agree.
Speaking of that, okay, CEB Imagery says, what's the 1 lighting modifier that you can't live without?
I have a modified Photoflex medium octa that has silver and gold inserts with a front with the center baffle but no front diffuser that I love. Mm-hmm. That's kind of my go-to for a key if I'm on a quick set. Honestly, the light modifier that works the best is the one the shoot calls for. I hate to say that. That sounds so cliche, but
it's true.
Yeah.
All right, so Blair, one of the questions that I really want to ask you, and a lot of people have written in, and that is, what are some of your favorite pieces of equipment that you like to use? Cameras, lighting equipment, light modifiers, things like that. So can you help us with that?
Gear-wise, I love Nikon D3X, and that 24-70G is kind of the go-to lens. I use the exact same lens and same body for 2 years straight.
Now, you shoot on location a lot, so why the D3X over the D3S? Is it just the megapixel power?
I like the megapixel and the resolution that you get out of that. I have a D3S as well. It kind of stays at home for a little bit. I'm going to Miami tomorrow, and I'm actually going to bring both because we're shooting around water, and I think there's a good chance that I'll probably destroy one of the bodies, and so I want a backup body. So D3X, D3S. And as far as for lights, it's Photoflex Tritons all the way. I shot for a long time, like, in studios I'll shoot ProPhoto because I need the power usually. But for location, you can't beat a Triton because it has a lot of power, it's easy to use, and you can get so many pops for the pack. There's a bunch of people outside. But yeah, that's kind of the go-to. Alien Bees are great, but you have to plug them in.
Right.
So
battery powered, on location, way to go.
It is a sweet, sweet get-up. I will say that.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about your professional work. You have a lot, and I've got about 90 pictures here, I think, that you sent us, which is cool. My favorite show, without a doubt, is Mythbusters.
Yeah.
You shot Adam and Jamie. So let's talk a little bit about how you approach, I mean, you've done a lot of celebrity shoots.
Yeah.
How do you approach celebrities? How do you get them to be comfortable, and how do you interpret them?
Everyone's going to be different. Definitely want to have your research. You got to know that, this celebrity has had this in their past. That's not a good joke to have on set. Or, you know what, this celebrity has, found that they had car collections, and so you can talk about that. Do producers help you with that, or the context outside of the celebrity handlers? No, usually, I mean, sometimes you'll ask questions like, what do they do in the off time or something like that. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of, they are real people. If you get starstruck by celebrities, not an industry for you. It's definitely one of those things that you have to be completely willing to ask someone that, for example, the Bret Michaels thing, or well, actually we're on Mythbusters.
We can talk about Bret Michaels. So you're talking about the cover where he is au natural.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was comfortable with celebrities at that point, and I had shot nonstop for about 3 weeks beforehand of nothing but celebrity work, or athletes mostly. And the new level is, how do you get comfortable with the celebrity enough to just tell him to take his clothes off? So.
And was that your idea, or did he come to that? I mean, how did
it is talked about beforehand between Billboard and him, and then myself. But at the end of the day, it still sucks. Like, just there's not really
a good way.
There's not really a fun, easy way to approach that, and it's kind of like doing your taxes, because you know what it takes to actually get it done. You just don't want to see the conclusion. Gotcha. So
yeah, because there is no sticker that says 100 ways to get your music or seen and heard. It's just
Brett. Just Brett.
Yeah.
And a guitar and well, minus.
And all of that stuff. All right. So in addition to shooting celebrities, you also shoot sports figures and portraits. And when I'm looking at these, one of the things that I noticed, and perhaps you've answered this question before, but the lighting style looks a little Jill Greenberg to me. Is that something you've heard? Is that something, can you tell us how you light? Because you have this very distinct, light coming from behind that looks a little similar to that.
I think that's
You're gonna punch me now?
No, I'm going to imply that you're wrong, so this is gonna be fun. Okay. Ready for this one? So the lighting style isn't Jill. The lighting style's the same kind of setup that Avedon used. The post, or the desaturated with contrast in the mids, that's Jill. Also that kind of perfectly brushed skin kind of thing, all that kind of stuff. That would be where your assumption of Jill would probably come into the whole set. The lighting is pretty much, the concept is go after it, blow out the whites, and draw usually the attention to the eyes. And so how you draw the attention to the eyes, you make attractive catch lights. And so attractive catch lights in the eyes are actually what people will associate themselves with the photo. You can really screw someone up. You can always just take a picture of someone, take the catch lights out of the eye, and they don't even want to see it.
Right, they're all dead-eyed. So how much post do you normally do? I mean, there's some here that look to me like there's just no post. It's very light
People are
touch.
Going to hate me for this one, so bring it on YouTube. Not much. I hate Photoshop. I really do. I have CS3. And when this interview came out, I don't even know what's out right now. Is it CS?
CS 5.5, I think.
5.5?
Or 5.1.
Cool.
Something. It's in the 5s.
Sweet. Very little.
Well, let's talk about that, because that's
it.
very interesting to me, because when I look at a lot of the shots that you have, specifically things like your cars, they're very desaturated.
Wrong one to use on that one. That has a lot.
So yeah, so this car here, this is...
so there's only about 2 images on the website that actually have more than 1 photo. Everything else is actually out of camera. 1 file, I don't like to drop in skies because I can't cut out of Photoshop to save my life. That one with the car, if you go back to...
this with the mountain and this one right
that's Rocket Art Studio did that.
Okay.
Pretty much that one has the car and a different sky. The lighting was pretty much flat through that whole thing. But that still has a lot of post-processing in it. They did a lot of retyping.
Even other shots, and I'm not.
Okay.
I love this stuff actually.
Okay.
I think it's phenomenal. But this shot of little people. So here's a girl with her and it looks to me like a texture that's been dropped into the sky.
That's yeah. So a lot of times you'll go on a set and you'll find, you know, if it's a flat sky or a sky that actually is close to a neutral, it doesn't really have a tonal range.
In Arizona and in the Southwest.
Arizona.
It's just
blue
all the time.
Exactly. Usually I'll look on set for a texture or something like that that actually works to be set into the sky, whether it's just the ground or a random door that's nearby. There's got to be some kind of detail up in there because a flat blue sky is, well, for me it's boring. It's obviously in the eye of the beholder, but for me I could care less.
It's horribly boring. Here's one of my very favorite shots. This is done for the Deadliest Catch, and it's this guy getting a hook in his face. There's blood flying. Obviously, there's been some work done here. Walk us through this image, and I know there's been videos made of this.
Yeah.
How did this come about? How did you? Where did the concept come from? Did you think of this? Did you do some storyboarding? Just walk us front to back. How did this happen?
It was the 3rd year that I was shooting for Deadliest Catch, and I got a call of these photos that were taken like a portrait of you, unbeknownst to you, some horrific accidents happening. Like you are going to get hit by a hook, or you're going to be washed off the ship by a wave, or I think a rope was another one.
Right.
It was the moment that you realized that something is wrong, but before you could address it. So instead of having them react to the hook and actually, you start to move back, you start to clench up, it is a deadpan portrait that's just had an environmental issue, like a hook, come through and crush a guy's face.
Crush a man's...
Yeah. There are so many scientific inaccuracies and physics that are involved in that just, obviously he's getting hit by a hook. How's the blood already going out?
Right.
Those things. But I had to have an excuse to use my teeth in the photo. But it's the concept was, and they drew it out really well. The guys over at Discovery Creative had pretty much this shot and said, make that. And how much is it going to cost to hit models with hooks? And you have
so did you actually hit the model with the hook?
No.
You just...
I mean, they were cool guys.
There
was something in me that kind of is like, kind of always wanted to see a person get hit in the face with a hook, but there's a certain aspect that, maybe it's not the right thing. Maybe you just kind of lean it up against their face, but you kind of want to push it a little bit harder to see if it just kind of, because I never got in a fight in high school, but if you just, so yeah, for that one, we just held up a hook, saw how the imprint would go, used a bunch of leaf blowers, indented the guy's face, and then took a picture of the hook kind of sideways, a little bit Dutch.
Nice.
But damn, would have been cool to actually hit a person in the face with a hook.
Well, there are a couple other questions I want to ask. I know we're running out of time, but you strike me as a guy that is very, in a good way, very geeky, technical, scientific, and pretty smart. Would you say that's accurate?
I think everything but the smart part's actually pretty damn accurate.
So not very smart.
No.
But how much do you think that knowledge of all things scientific and scientific principles and understanding those things, how much do you think that helps you to do things like lighting and photography and post and all the things that surround photography. Is that important to you?
The lighting aspect is, and knowing, I mean, general principles of color and of temperature and of power and of contrast ratios. Being able to dial a ratio is actually one of the most important things of lighting I think people take for granted. But as far as the post work, I hold true, the post work is very much the least important aspect. I think actually what the science does is it gives you something to talk about. It gives you something to geek out on, because there's going to be a time when you'll sit at home for a month and you have no calls, you have no work to do. So that's something I kind of embrace. I really look at it as a fun little outlet that I can go and study, because when I was in college, my degrees are in business and sociology. I didn't take any science courses that besides like general biology. Never took physics, and I always kind of loved that. And I think what it does is the science aspect romantically encapsulates the photography aspect. Because when you think about it, and I'm so sorry, Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is my hero, said this first. Actually, it was a scientist, he had one of his shows on Star Talk, said, if you think about it, you are a historian because your subject that you capture, you're actually just capturing their light. And so the light actually coming from your subject to your film plane, you're actually shooting a person 1/45 millionth of a second behind who they were. And so therefore, everything you're documenting is always it's just the past.
Just everything is the past.
Yeah, so it's the fun little ways to look at things that really make plane rides go by so much quicker and make blogs so much more fun to write.
Right. You have a blog that's pretty awesome, and you write a lot about these adventures that you have, and the pictures that you take, and how you approach things, and some of those things. Where can people find your blog?
Physical address?
Yeah, what is it?
BlairBunting.com/blog.
BlairBunting.com/blog. Very straightforward.
If you want to waste way too damn much time.
It's very interesting. In fact, there's an awesome article I just read just a few minutes ago about you and shooting a horse and a girl, and it's pretty cool. Well, I think that's it. We're out of time, so thank you so much for joining us today.
This episode is brought to you by Adorama TV. Visit the Adorama Learning Center, where you'll find photography tips and techniques, links to the gear used in this episode, and related videos. For all the latest photography, video, and computer gear, visit Adorama.com. And the next time you're in New York City, visit our store, located on 18th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue.